The next show we have is Drifters.
All right.
Go ahead.
This one was mine. The one that I was looking forward to every week. I love this one. This one, I think it. Well, I mean, for those that don't know, it's based off of historical figures. Those are the main characters that play parts in this world. So I guess it doesn't really explain how they get there. You just know that they're one side of a war against another side. And it kind of shows the character. I guess he might be God. They don't really explain who it is, but it's just some guy sitting at a desk who grabs certain people out of history, and puts them on his side. And he's fighting a war against this girl who they make out to be evil because his part of the hallway is white, her part of the hallway is black. So she's grabbing certain people out of history to kind of fight against each other in this mystical world. And the whole season basically introduces the characters, kind of shows how this war is being fought out. And the action scenes are great. The animation is great. They have great characters because they all have their own personality and they all play certain parts. They're not all out there just fighting because they're all powerful. Like they have Nobunaga. They pull him out and he's the strategist basically. So he's the guy in the back calling shots that's telling everybody what to do. They have another character called Konoichi. She's just kind of the sharpshooter sniper that trains the soldiers on how to shoot bows and arrows. And then they have the main character, Shinamazu, who's they put as the figurehead, and he's the guy that leads all the fights. He's the one that does all the interactions with all these important peoples, and he's the one that's out there literally chopping everybody's heads off because he has some kind of fetish for chopping people's heads off, and that's all he does.
I mean, who doesn't? I mean, come on.
Yeah, but he's so brave. He's not afraid to die. I mean, he was just like, I'm going to go kill this person, and that's what I'm going to do. I don't care what happens to me. I'm going to get this guy's head off.
Yeah. Every fight, he's like, I'm collecting his head. And then he walks away with a head, and you're just like, all right, cool. I guess that's just how they did it back then. But I mean...
somehow I doubt that, but, hey, it makes for a good story anyways.
But no, I mean, there wasn't any part of the show and any episode that I felt was boring. They played every part well. Nothing got drug out. Nothing was too short. They're funny when they need to be funny. I think it was last time we were talking about Taboo Tattoo, where you couldn't tell if it should be serious, if it should be funny. They were just like mixing parts in, and it just looked, the story didn't flow very well. On this one, the characters interacted. The way that they were written, they interacted perfectly. It was never nothing ever felt lame. It wasn't cheesy. It wasn't stupid. It was goofy. You would laugh, and then when it got into the action scenes, like you just couldn't stop watching. Personally, it was my favorite one of the season, and I recommend it to anybody that just loves a good action.
Okay. I watched probably 4 episodes of that show, and I came back to it after a couple of weeks. The first guy said, after I watched the first episode, I thought it was just Japanese history that everything was based off of, but then somebody commented on our video and said it was actually people from all over the world. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I went back and revisited the show, and then immediately I started seeing people from like other countries and back in the past and stuff like that. And I don't know what about it that doesn't hold my attention, but I couldn't have
attention problems here. Big deal with that.
Yeah, I'm watching like so many shows.
Well, Drifters is no Keijo, but
Yeah, I guess if he was the main character was taking heads off with bathing suit breastises,
or the
it would have been better.
Yeah, totally different.
Oh, so I think the last episode.
What did that possibly trigger?
No. It's like the parts where I was excited about in the show. There was the last episode that I watched. some guy came out of nowhere in a plane.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after I was kind of like losing interest in the show, and then the plane showed up, and then dragons showed up, and I'm like, oh my god, this show is so freaking cool, and then I just drop it. So.
See, and you missed it because they start introducing all of these characters. So you know that everybody's going to play a different role, but they don't fully explain how, for example, the pilot, he crash lands and he lands near a village of werewolves. I guess that's what they are. And then they herald him as a god. And so he has the support of this whole village, but they don't really introduce him yet with all the other drifters. So you know that there's all these pieces out on the table that still haven't come together. So you're kind of waiting for how they're going to do it, and they didn't rush it. That's what I like. They focused on the main three characters, Konoichi, Nobunaga, and then I always forget his name, Shinamazu. So it's just them for right now, and then they're kind of starting the fight, and it's building up. And then they have all of these other characters just waiting back there to meet up with them. So it's kind of building it up into this big fight. So it just seems like when they finally do get to that point, this is going to be nuts. Because the other side has dragons, and the Black King is apparently some god, basically, because he can heal and destroy and do all sorts of stuff. And then he's just going against these three regular characters, the samurai, an archer, and then Nobunaga, who just strategizes everything. But it's also cool how like the thing that I like about how they introduce the characters like Nobunaga, because he was known as this crazy smart general that almost took over all of Japan. So he's being introduced to this new technology, like the orbs for communicating. So he's like, oh man, with this, I can bark or I can give orders directly. There's no time delay. I don't have to send a soldier who has to travel a certain amount of weeks to get to the front line to communicate my orders. I can do it right away. And he's just thinking about how crazy ways that he can use this technology to his advantage. Same thing when they introduce guns to him. So he's like, oh, this is perfect for such and such and such reasons. And it just kind of gives the character depth. He's not just another guy who magically comes up with some kind of strategy. He's like, oh, I expected you to play that trap card, so I put my other trap card to counter your trap card kind of crap.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So did y'all finish the first season?
Yeah. We finished.
Okay, cool. So did they like end it, or did it like lead on to another season? Or is it actually still continuing?
It's not continuing.
It reminds me of like a war. This was a battle.
Yeah.
This season was a battle, and we saw what happened in the battle, but it's going to continue.
This was the first season, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I hope they bring it for a second season, because it I don't know, it just feels like they're building it up really well for something that's going to be awesome.
Okay.
Tons more action, definitely.
Sounds good.
More heads for the collection.
Yeah. Sounds pretty cool.
I may get back to it. I don't know.
As long as it's not like schizophrenic in their storytelling, it seems like they're just throwing it's just like a big melting pot. It's like, oh, there's everything in this, it's like planes, werewolves, dragons, like there's people from history. Like they're just throwing everything at this, which I guess could be fine as long as they, juggle it well. But it sounds interesting. They have so much to delve from.
Yeah, it's like a big toy box. You're like,
pretty much
open up your chest and you have all your action figures. You're like, oh,
yeah.
I'm gonna get the dragon and the plane and all that kind of stuff. So it's a fun concept. It's just,
you have like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles leading the toy soldiers into fight against G.I. Joes or something. It kind of seems like it's everywhere, but they tie it together in a way that makes sense, where you can see it like, oh, okay, I get it. It just doesn't seem random, even though it looks random.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Cool. All of the skaters are like following each other, so you get to see like all of them are like on their phone looking at Twitter and like, oh, this person's taking pictures and doing all this kind of stuff, and they're like, oh, he scored this, all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool how they like implement social media into it, because it took like a big part of the series. I would say about that company is like it felt really fishy at the beginning. Like the leader of the group, he wouldn't explain anything. The other people were kind of, they just did whatever he said, and you didn't really know what was going on, so you didn't really feel safe with the main character.